All right, so I created this video in the hopes to be able to clearly demonstrate some different ways I work with people when I'm teaching them how to kayak roll, specifically how I hold them. And this is just a way, it's not the way, but just wanted to provide a resource for folks to be able to get some really clear visuals on just different ways to work with folks. And so we're going to go through this video. I'll press pause, talk a little bit, and then we'll keep on moving through. All right, so let's start it off.
Oh my.
Cool. So first things first, prerequisites for beginning the kayak roll progression for me are comfort underwater. So they've done numerous wet exits and demonstrated comfort underwater. They have paddled around a little bit, just kind of getting used to having the paddle in their hands and moving the paddle in their body. And then clearly like getting some introduction to hip snap or boat rotation. Ideally, what I'm doing right now is not the first time they've been exposed to that.
Come on, relax. There you go. All right, so right now you're looking up at the birds. Birds. As soon as you engage your right knee down.
Cool. So right here, you may have heard I use this kind of mantra, bird's knee fish. This is just to kind of give people really clear steps in terms of where they should be looking or using their body in the process of the boat rotation. So the first step is looking up at the birds. And then as soon as I engage my rolling knee, I look down at the fish. And that's what we're doing right here. Here, the student put a little bit more weight on my hands than I would have liked. And so we keep on working through that until they're doing a really fluid boat rotation or hip snap. Awesome. This is like step two when we progressed from moving from the boat rotation, and now I've introduced the paddle. I've talked about the start position, and this is, I've talked about the different phases of the roll, start position, finish position, and then connecting the dots. And this is the first step where I'm going to hold the boat stable, get them into that start position, and really let them feel what that ideal start position is.
Wrap your body around the side of the toe. Like your feet. Awesome. Forearms up against the side of the kayak. Okay, come back up.
Cool. So we're moving on now where this student has felt that position. I'm feeling good about moving beyond that. And now we're moving to the part where I'm going to go ahead and roll the student over towards me, hold them, and then guide them through the middle phase of their roll. So they're going to fall over in the start position. And then I'm going to guide the paddle and kind of hold their body. And then as I do that, they're engaging the rolling knee and going to the finish position. Just things to note are like where I'm holding the student, making sure that it's a position of comfort for me and for them, and that I'm out of the way of this practice. Like if I'm getting hit by the paddle, then it's no bueno. And so I need to position myself in a place where it's safe for me, it's comfortable for them, and that they can actually effectively practice the role. Awesome. I don't know if you saw right there, I pulled the student over with my right hand, and then I'm cradling behind their shoulder or under their shoulder with my left hand. And the depth of water in the pool here works out for me to be in a really comfortable position to do that.
Out of the way. As soon as I do that, engage your right knee. One, right knee. Yeah.
Okay, so if we back up just a second there, awesome. So by holding the paddle shaft, I don't like to hold the paddle blade because I don't want them to feel a lot of resistance on the paddle blade itself. But I'm holding the paddle shaft, and I can also hold their hand or touch their hand in a way that allows me to really clearly guide them out and away from the boat in the direction that I want them to be moving that paddle, that leading blade. Um, and if I can also feel really clearly with that hand whether or not they're pulling down on the paddle. And if I'm feeling a lot of resistance there, if they're pulling down, that's feedback that I can share with that student. And we don't go beyond this phase. I'd say like at the beginning of this phase of the my kayak rolling instruction, I'm probably taking ownership of 95% of guiding the paddle initially. And then we're working in this position until more or less they are taking ownership of 90 to 95% of guiding the paddle. And at that point, my hand is just resting on the paddle shaft and just really there to um, make sure that the paddle doesn't swing back and hit me. Right. So we're going to stay in this phase for quite some time until I feel like they are really owning that paddling movement and that the whole process of moving the paddle, engaging the knee, and getting to that finished position. Awesome.
Right knee.
When I feel like they're prepared, when they're really owning a lot of that guiding of the paddle, um, at this point, I'm going to have them flip all the way over, and I'm going to hold on to the paddle and begin that guiding motion, and then they're going to do the rest. Here it goes. Sweet. So as I'm doing it, you can see I'm putting both hands on the paddle, beginning that guiding position, and then really how long I hold on to the paddle is really dependent on how that person's doing. If it feels like, oh, they're coming right up, then I'll let go and just kind of get out of the way. And if it feels like, oh, they're struggling a little bit, I'll maintain some contact on that paddle to ensure that they get to that finished position. And then I'm also in a position where if they fail or if they don't come up, then I can hold on to the paddle and give them the resistance to keep them up. And then we can go back and start talking about feedback and even take a step back in the rolling progression where I'm just bringing them back over to me and guiding the paddle again. Awesome. So we're at the final stage for me where I'm like, okay, they're doing really, really well. They're rolling pretty darn independently. I'm still, in the phase before, I'm still giving them some level of guidance with the paddle. But when I feel like they're proficient enough, I'm going to step to the back of the boat where now I'm completely out of the way. And you'll see here in a moment, my cue to them is when they flip over, I want them to be in the start position. I'm going to tap the bottom of the boat, and that's their cue to begin the roll. And being at the back of the boat, I can give them, a bit of assistance. I can't roll them completely upright from the back of the boat, but I can give them, 20, 15, 10%, and just give them a little bit of assistance if they need it. Check it out. Awesome. And so from that point, I'm, at the back of the boat. I can get a really clear view of them rolling. I'm also able to maintain contact with the boat. So if they do miss their roll, I can pull the boat back towards me. And before we start this process, I have a verbal contract with that student of like, hey, if they miss their roll, what should they expect? If they miss their roll, what I would need them to do is drop the paddle and tap the sides of the boat. And at that point, I'll come into the contact zone and give them assistance. I don't want to rush in to that contact zone if they're going to go for another role. And so that's why it's important to set those expectations with your student. And yeah. So again, I hope this was something. I don't know if it's a valuable resource, but a resource nonetheless, of just a really clear visual representation of ways to work with a kayak student when you're teaching them how to roll, specifically how to hold them, how to guide the paddle, and how to go through that progression. Awesome. Thanks so much.